Hello and welcome back to The Deep Dive. We are really glad you're here with us today.
We really are.
Though I do have to warn you right off the bat, we are tackling a pretty heavy one.
Yeah, it's definitely a somber one today.
Right. If you've been anywhere near the internet or social media, or honestly just a television in the last 24 hours, you likely already know why the mood is so heavy.
Usually when we sit down to talk about reality TV or pop culture, we're dissecting, a casting shakeup or some Twitter feud.
A petty argument.
Exactly. It's usually light or at least entertaining in a guilty pleasure sort of way.
Low stakes.
Totally low stakes. But the news coming out of Salt Lake City today puts us in a completely different category.
It really does.
It's Thursday, February 26, 2026, and the reality television world has effectively come to a screeching halt.
We are talking, of course, about the breaking news regarding the sudden passing of Robert Cosby Jr.
The son of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star Mary Cosby.
And he was just so young.
So young.
Only 23 years old. It's tragic. There's really no other word for it.
No, there isn't.
And looking at the stack of research we have today, we're pulling from reports by the News Digital, Cinema Blend, and the GeoNews Digital Desk.
Right.
And looking at all of this isn't just a headline about a cast member experiencing a loss.
No, it's much more complex than that. I mean, it is a story about a grieving mother, obviously, first and foremost.
Absolutely.
But it's also a story about a young man who had very public, very difficult struggles.
Yeah.
And it's about a massive production machine that has had to make a very rare decision to just stop the gears from turning.
That is really our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We aren't just here to read the obituary or summarize a headline.
Right.
We want to unpack this difficult intersection where real-life tragedy crashes into the mechanics of entertainment.
Because they really are colliding right now.
They are. We need to talk about exactly what happened based on the police and family statements,
Well,
the context leading up to this moment,
it
because...
didn't happen in a vacuum.
Exactly. And finally, what it signifies that Bravo has officially shut down production on Season 7.
Which is a huge move. And I think that decision alone tells us a lot about the gravity of the situation.
Absolutely. So let's not bury the lead here. Let's start with the facts we have as of this morning,
Good idea.
because the timeline is a little bit specific, right?
It is. If you just logged onto Twitter today, it feels like this just happened this morning.
Like breaking right now.
Right. But sticking to the reporting from the News Digital and GeoNews, the core event actually took place earlier in the week.
Okay.
Robert Cosby Jr. was found dead on Monday, February 23, 2026.
Monday, but the public didn't know immediately.
No, there was a gap. The news didn't actually break publicly until Wednesday.
Wow.
So you have roughly 48 hours where the family was processing this privately. Presumably, the network was finding out behind the scenes, and the police were doing their initial work.
Right, before Mary Cosby actually released a statement via social media. And I want to drill down into the police response for a second, because the wording in the reports, specifically referencing police statements, is very particular.
It is, and we really need to be precise here. According to the sources, the initial call that came into authorities was regarding an overdose.
An overdose. Okay, so that was the initial flag for emergency services.
Right. But, and this is the crucial part of the report, once authorities arrived on the scene, the situation escalated into a formal death investigation.
Now, for the layperson or anyone listening who isn't familiar with police procedure, does that imply something nefarious?
Not necessarily.
Or is that just procedure?
It's largely procedural. But it signals that this wasn't a straightforward medical event where a doctor just, signs a certificate on the spot.
It requires a closer look.
Right. It requires an inquiry. And I want to be extremely clear for everyone listening right now.
Yeah, please.
The medical examiner is currently investigating the official cause of death. We do not have a toxicology report yet.
And those can take weeks to process.
Exactly. Weeks or even months sometimes. So while that initial 911 call mentions an overdose, we don't have the final medical word yet.
Right.
But that detail does give us a heartbreaking glimpse into what the emergency responders were walking into on Monday.
It really does. And amidst that investigation, amidst the police and the questions, you have Mary Cosby.
Yeah.
She released a statement on Wednesday, and I have to say, reading it,
It's heavy.
it just hits you right in the gut.
It wasn't a PR statement written by some crisis management firm. It felt very, very personal.
It really did. She posted on Instagram, and the language was deeply rooted in her faith.
Yeah.
She wrote that Robert has been called home to the Lord.
Called home. That phrase is just so final, isn't it?
It is. And she went on to say, though our hearts ache We take comfort in God's promise and in knowing he is finally at peace.
Finally at peace.
And she closed it by thanking everyone for their prayers and just asking for privacy.
You know, it's that phrase, finally at peace, that really stands out to me.
Why is that?
Because if you have been following the context, the struggles behind the screen, as we call them, you know that peace has been something Robert Cosby Jr. has been chasing for a long time.
Yeah.
He's been struggling to find it for years.
That's the thing. If you are a fan of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, or honestly even just a casual observer of reality TV, Robert wasn't just some background character.
No, not at all.
He didn't just pop up to wave at the camera at a dinner party. His struggles were, as Cinema Blend put it, focal points of the recent seasons.
They really were. And this is where the conversation naturally shifts from the immediate tragedy of this week to the context of his life.
Right.
This wasn't a hidden battle. Mary and Robert had spoken quite candidly on camera about his substance abuse.
We saw the rehab stints.
We saw the rehab, we saw the relapses, we saw the friction it caused in the family dynamic.
Yeah.
It was a primary narrative thread of the show.
It brings up that complicated feeling for the viewer, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Because we watched this young man struggle. We rooted for him. You almost feel like you know him because you've watched these incredibly vulnerable moments broadcast to the world.
That is the nature of the medium. We develop this parasocial investment in these people.
Yeah.
And the timeline leading up to this week makes that investment feel even heavier because it is incredibly tight.
It's so compressed.
We're talking about a matter of weeks between a moment of genuine hope and this ultimate tragedy.
Well, let's unpack that timeline then.
Yeah.
Because looking at the sources, he had just gone through a major legal hurdle.
Right. According to the reports, Robert had legal troubles that resulted in him serving 2 months in jail.
And he was just released.
Yes, he was released earlier this month, February 2026.
Wow.
So if you do the math, he had only been out of jail for a few weeks before he passed away on Monday.
That is just heartbreaking.
It is. It is the very definition of tragic timing.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing, and the sources actually mentioned this specifically, Mary had posted a photo of him just 2 weeks ago.
I saw that too. There's a picture of them together, right?
Yes. And the caption was just pure gratitude. She was thanking fans for their prayers because he had finally returned home.
You look at that post now, and it was this profound moment of relief. It was communicating to the world, he's home, the ordeal is over, he's safe.
It felt like a fresh start.
Yeah.
A new chapter. You know, he paid his debt, now we move forward.
Right.
And then 14 days later, he's gone.
It creates a tragic irony that is honestly hard to shake. You have this moment of what looks like a major upswing, followed almost immediately by the end.
And we have to be honest about the background noise in his life right then, too.
What do you mean?
Well, the sources detail that while he was out of jail, the personal turmoil hadn't just evaporated overnight.
No, it was messy.
Mhm.
The sources detail some specific legal issues involving his estranged wife, Alexiana Smokoff.
Correct. Smokoff had filed for divorce back in November 2025.
Okay.
And the jail time we just mentioned.
Yeah.
That was connected to violating a restraining order related to her.
Oh, wow. So he's 23, he's dealing with active addiction recovery, he's fresh out of jail, and he's in the middle of a divorce and ongoing legal battles.
It's a lot.
That is a massive amount of pressure for anyone, let alone a 23-year-old.
It's an absolute avalanche of pressure. And what's really sad, looking at the Geo News report, is that Robert's lawyer had released a statement recently that gave us a little window into his mindset.
Really? What did the lawyer say?
The statement said Robert had expressed deep regret regarding his prior actions and explicitly acknowledged his poor judgment.
See, that just kills me.
I know.
Because that sounds like someone who is lucid, someone who is actively taking accountability for their life.
Exactly. He wasn't defiant.
Right.
He was arguably in a mindset of trying to pivot. He was owning his mistakes. And that makes the loss feel even more senseless.
He was trying to do the work.
He was trying.
There's also the mother-son dynamic that plays into this.
Yeah.
And we obviously have to tread carefully here because Mary is actively grieving. But the show gave us a lot of insight into their relationship over the years.
It did. If you watched the season 6 reunion, Mary was very open about how she handled his incarceration.
Oh, I remember this vividly. It was a massive topic of discussion among the fans.
Yeah.
She refused to visit him physically in jail.
She did. She drew a hard line there. But she clarified that they maintained daily phone contact.
Every single day. Why do you think she drew that boundary?
Well, looking at it through the lens of what she said on the show, it seems like a tough love approach.
Yeah.
Or honestly, perhaps just self-preservation. Maybe she just couldn't bear to see her son in that kind of environment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But what it highlights for us today is that their relationship was active, it was intense, they were grappling with these issues together on the phone every single day, right up until the end.
So it wasn't a case of estrangement. It was deep engagement.
Precisely. They were in it together.
So we have this profound, tragic, personal event.
Mm.
A mother has lost her son. But because this is The Real Housewives, and because Mary is such a central, pivotal figure on that show, this immediately becomes an industry event as well.
It does.
And the breaking news today isn't just that Robert died, but that The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City has essentially gone dark.
Which is a very significant decision. According to CinemaBlend, production on Season 7 has been officially shut down.
And the timing of that, talk about down to the wire.
It's wild. Reports state that filming was gearing up to begin this week.
Literally right now.
Literally this week.
So the cameras were prepped.
The cameras were likely being rented and set up. The crew was hired. The lighting grids were being planned out at the venues.
The call sheets were probably already drafted for the first cast events.
Exactly. The whole Bravo machine was revving up,
Yep.
and then everything just stopped.
And the reasoning cited in the reports is simply that Bravo is putting Mary's feelings first.
Which, frankly, is the only move they could possibly make. The cast and crew are coping with the loss, and ethically, you just can't do it.
Imagine trying to film a scene about a petty dinner party argument a week after something like this happens.
You can't film a show about brunch fights, ski trips, and, social climbing when one of your main stars is burying her child.
Yeah.
The tonal shift would be impossible to navigate. It would feel completely grotesque.
It raises a really interesting point about the industry, though. You're the expert here. How common is this? Because the old showbiz saying is the show must go on, right?
Usually, yes. Millions of dollars are at stake with these productions.
Right.
But looking at the history of the Real Housewives franchise, there is a precedent for this, but it is incredibly rare.
Reserved for extreme circumstances.
Exactly.
Walk us through some of those examples. When else has Bravo hit the brakes like this?
Well, the most notable one that CinemaBlend points out is the Real Housewives of New Jersey.
Oh, with Teresa Giudice.
Yes. When Teresa Giudice went to prison, they didn't just carry on filming without her.
They actually stopped.
They stopped filming full seasons until she served her time and could return.
Right, because she was the anchor of that show. The sun, the other planets revolved around.
Exactly. That was fundamentally a talent decision. The show just didn't work without her.
Makes sense.
And then you have the global events, like in November 2020, when Atlanta and Beverly Hills suspended production due to COVID-19.
Sure, but that was health and safety. That was a global pandemic affecting everyone.
Right. But here is the contrast that I think is really fascinating, and it really highlights why this specific situation in Salt Lake City is different.
Okay.
Look at the Real Housewives of Potomac.
Oh, right. Karen Huger.
Yes. When Karen Huger was away for different reasons, obviously the show continued.
They didn't stop for her.
They filmed around her absence. They acknowledged on camera that she wasn't there, but the machine kept moving. They didn't shut down the entire production.
So why the difference here? Why not just film the other women reacting to the news or just film their separate storylines?
Because this is a death, and specifically the tragic death of a child. It crosses a definitive line from reality TV scandal or drama to profound human tragedy.
That makes sense.
Halting production here signals that the industry, or at least Bravo in this specific instance, recognizes there is a boundary where entertainment just has to yield to human suffering.
It's interesting to hear that fans are actually reacting to that specific decision, too.
Yeah.
You check the message boards, and usually you see complaints about delays or people demanding new episodes.
Totally.
But the sources say fans are shocked by the death, obviously, but heartened that the network prioritized the family over the shooting schedule.
I think it's a bit of a relief for the audience.
How so?
Well, we can be pretty cynical about reality TV, assuming producers will exploit anything and anyone for ratings.
True.
But stepping back and stopping production says, okay, we are human beings first.
Right.
If the cameras were rolling right now, capturing Mary's raw grief for a season 7 episode arc, I think the audience would recoil.
It would feel voyeuristic in a way that just isn't fun anymore?
Exactly. It would feel predatory.
Speaking of the network, we do have some official responses we should cover.
Yeah, let's look at those.
Bravo released a statement saying they were, quote, heartbroken to learn of the passing. Mary is a cherished member of our family.
Which is standard corporate speak, but it feels necessary. They have to acknowledge it officially.
It does. But I think Andy Cohen's reaction on Instagram threads hit a little harder.
Yeah, it felt less like a press release. What did he say exactly?
He called it devastatingly sad
Mm-hmm.
and used the phrase every parent's worst nightmare.
And that's really it, isn't it? Regardless of the fame, the money, the cameras, the eccentric costumes, it is fundamentally a parent losing a child.
Yeah.
That cuts through all the reality TV noise.
And that brings us to the fan sentiment. We touched on this briefly earlier, but I think it's crucial.
Definitely.
Why does this hit the audience so hard? People are online saying they are genuinely crying over this news. Why such a visceral reaction from strangers?
I think it's because the show shed light on the immense shame surrounding substance abuse, and we went on that journey with them.
Right.
Mary and Robert didn't hide it. And by not hiding it, they invited the audience into that very private struggle.
We saw the vulnerability.
We did. So when the audience hears he passed away, likely connected to those struggles, given the initial overdose call details, it feels like a personal loss to the viewers who are actively rooting for his recovery.
It's that narrative expectation again.
Yes.
You want the happy ending. You want the season 7 arc where Robert is clean, happy, maybe starting a business or moving on.
Exactly. The narrative arc we are trained to expect in television, even reality television, is resolution.
Struggle, rehab, relapse, recovery.
We wanted the recovery. The fans wanted to see him win.
And getting this ending instead.
Yeah.
It's a shock to the system. It breaks the unwritten contract between the viewer and the show.
It really does. It reminds us that reality isn't a writer's room. You can't just script a redemption arc because it tests well with focus groups.
So let's try to wrap our heads around all of this. We have a young life lost at 23. We have a timeline that is just devastating. Mere weeks after getting out of jail, trying to get his life back on track.
Yeah.
And we have a major television production completely shutting down its lights.
It is a massive ripple effect. One tragedy in Salt Lake City stops a huge production machine. It affects the crew, the other cast members, the network schedule.
But all of that pales in comparison to the loss of life.
Exactly. It really highlights the precariousness of the reality in reality TV. We consume these shows for fun, for the drama, for the escapism, but the underlying issues, addiction, legal trouble, family breakdown, those are very real.
Very real.
And they have real permanent consequences that don't fit neatly into a 42-minute episode.
That is the key takeaway for me, I think. We often view these people as characters.
Yeah.
The villain, the victim, the troubled son.
Right.
But Robert Cosby Jr. wasn't a character trope. He was a 23-year-old man with a complex life, facing demons that millions of people face every day.
Yeah.
And he lost that battle.
He did.
It definitely changes how I'm going to look at the next season, whenever it does happen.
If it happens.
If it happens, that's a very good point. We don't know when or if they will pick back up.
And this raises an important question for everyone listening. And honestly, it's something I've been thinking about all morning since the news broke.
What's that?
When real-life tragedy strikes this deeply, so deeply that it literally forces the cameras to turn off, does it force us to reevaluate how we consume the real-life struggles of others as entertainment?
That is the big question, isn't it?
At what point does our viewership cross the line and become voyeurism into pain that should honestly be private?
Right.
And does this tragedy change the way you watch these kinds of personal struggles next time you turn on Bravo?
That is something I think we're all going to be mulling over for a while. It certainly changes the flavor of the entire genre.
Absolutely. It makes you pause.
We are going to leave it there for today. It's a profoundly sad day for the Cosby family, and our thoughts are obviously with them right now.
Indeed. It's just a heartbreaking situation all around.
If you want to read the full statements from Mary Cosby or the network, or see the specific details of the timeline we discussed today, we strongly encourage you to check out the reporting from the News Digital, Cinema Blend, and Geo News Digital Desk.
Yeah, they have the full text there.
It's worth reading them in full to understand the tone and the gravity of this situation beyond just the quick headlines.
I agree completely.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive today, everyone.